member for St. John's South, Mount Pearl.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. When it comes to our Indian ancestry, Newfoundland, and Newfoundland in particular, not so much Labrador, Newfoundland hasn't been overly proud. We're not proud because the Aboriginal people of the island of Newfoundland, the Beothiks, have been officially extinct for nearly 2 centuries. Known as the lost people of Newfoundland, the Beothik were ravaged by massacres, epidemics, and territorial losses until by the early 19th century, the group is said to have been completely wiped out, Mr. Speaker. Some First Nations would dispute that, to claim that the Beothik are extinct. There's a belief in Mi'kmaq oral history that as white incomers tightened their control of Newfoundland, the Beothik fled to the mainland and integrated with neighboring groups. In other words, among us all, there is Beothik blood somewhere in our genes through the marriages that took place. Now that's a theory, Mr. Speaker, and it holds weight. I think it holds weight. One thing, Mr. Speaker, one thing is absolutely certain, beyond the shadow of a doubt. The Mi'kmaq bloodline runs through the veins of generations of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians, tens of thousands of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. And that's what this motion is about, Mr. Speaker. In the fall of 2011, in what a government press release deemed an historic occasion, the Department of Aboriginal Affairs granted official Indian status to the Newfoundland Mi'kmaq. The Newfoundland Mi'kmaq has been denied, or had been denied, any claim, Mr. Speaker, they had been denied any claim to Aboriginal title ever since 1949 when Newfoundland joined Canada. Now, why is that, Mr. Speaker? Joey Smallwood, who brought us kicking and screaming into Confederation, he didn't bother to mention the Indian Act in the terms of union. Talk about a monumental oversight, Mr. Speaker. There's no mention of Aboriginal peoples within the terms of union that brought Newfoundland and Labrador, Newfoundland it was called then, into Confederation. Anyway, Aboriginal Affairs granted official Indian status to the Newfoundland Mi'kmaq finally. They finally got it. And it was originally anticipated that fewer than 10,000 people would step forward, would apply for Aboriginal status, fewer than 10,000 people. That number, Mr. Speaker, has since ballooned to 10 times that. More than 100,000 people have applied. Now, some of those 100,000 people live in Newfoundland. More live on the mainland, in mainland Canada, and more still live all around the world. A huge number, 100,000, has created a problem in terms of processing applications, Mr. Speaker. 70,000 applications have yet to be processed. Now, the deadline for applying to become a member of the Qalipu Mi'kmaq First Nations Band was November the 30th, 2012. November passed. The agreement for the recognition of membership in the Qalipu First Nation Band expired this past March 21st. This motion calls on the Conservative government to extend that agreement for the recognition process of the Qalipu First Nations Band until all applications, Mr. Speaker, are processed, and to ensure that the rules of eligibility for membership are followed by all government decision makers in any continuation of the enrollment process. Further, all previous interpretations, precedents, and rulings on matters affecting enrollment that were not specifically addressed within the agreement for the recognition of the Qalipu First Nation Band, but were established through the records of decisions made by the Enrollment Committee and the appeals process, be made known to all participants in all future enrollment process. In other words, Mr. Speaker, make the process fair. Make the process above board so everyone knows the rules of the game. Spell them out, Mr. Speaker. Don't change eligibility requirements because more people applied than expected. Don't do that. That's not the right thing to do. All applications received before the original deadline should be processed in a fair and timely manner. Mr. Speaker, that is not the case. The total number of enrollment clerks hired and trained by the Government of Canada, by this Conservative government, to help with applications, is 3. 3, Mr. Speaker. more than 100,000 applications, and we have 3 enrollment clerks. 3. So, why did so many Newfoundlanders and Labradorians in the province, in the country, around the world apply for status than had been anticipated? Why did the numbers go through the roof, Mr. Speaker? Well, for generations, Aboriginal roots were often hidden in Newfoundland and Labrador by those who preferred to pass as non-Aboriginals. Now, they preferred to pass as non-Aboriginals because of discrimination. People now, finally, are coming forward. They're admitting, Mr. Speaker, they're embracing their Aboriginal heritage and their history. Sheila O'Leary, a councillor with the City of St. John's, who's also applied for status, said, quote, "It's about reclaiming identity and understanding where you come from, accepting where you come from, Mr. Speaker, embracing where you come from." In many ways, people embracing their Aboriginal heritage should, Mr. Speaker, they should be a cause of celebration. Instead, the Conservative government is treating it as a cause of concern. The Conservatives are telling them that the rules may now change, Mr. Speaker. The rules may now change because too many people are applying. Too many people are applying. In the lead-up to the 2006 Indian Residential Schools Settlement Agreement, federal officials estimated that a maximum of 12,000 former students would step forward. 12,000, Mr. Speaker. By last July, the Secretariat handling the agreement had processed more than 30,000 claimants, driving up costs by more than $2 billion. What does that tell you, Mr. Speaker? It goes to show that the Conservative government, this Conservative government, has a history of underestimating Aboriginal populations and ancestry in this country. Once again, we see that the Conservative government has not provided the necessary resources to deal with a greater than expected number of applicants. The right thing to do, Mr. Speaker, is to provide the necessary resources to finish the job, to do the job right, to make sure the job is done right. Applying for membership was a lengthy process. It certainly wasn't easy, Mr. Speaker. It involved geological research and compiling all the necessary documentation. Although there's no opportunity for people to apply for membership through there's still an opportunity for people to apply for membership through Aboriginal Affairs and Northern Development Canada. There's still an opportunity to do that, Mr. Speaker, but that's an even lengthier process that can take years. It's unfair to force these applicants to wait that long when the delay in processing the applications was the fault of this Conservative government, due again, Mr. Speaker, to a lack of resources. People whose applications are in limbo are concerned the government never intended to create a landless band with nearly 100,000 members. People are concerned that that was never the intention, Mr. Speaker. They're concerned that government is going to alter the terms of the agreement and the enrollment process to deny these additional applicants or apply more stringent means of determining whether they're eligible for membership. The government decision to hire a special representative to review the enrollment process and investigate possible measures to address the situation while maintaining the integrity of the process and the spirit of the goals of the agreement only adds to people's concerns, Mr. Speaker. Both the Enrollment Committee and the people who judged the appeals set up the recognition order that created the Qalipu, and they've had to judge a number of membership applications. During that time, a number of precedents and interpretations were made of documents. This motion, again, to sum up, Mr. Speaker, calls on government to ensure all of those previous precedents during any extension of the registration process be applied, be above board, be made public so that everybody knows the rules of the game. New Democrats agree that all applicants should be treated the same way. Mr. Speaker, let's hope that that happens.